Greetings. We are going to look at weighted averages. These are averages where you have assignments that don't all count for the same valuation toward your final score for a course. So we're going to have some examples. We are going to have in our example that tests will be weighted at 40% of the grade, quizzes will be 35% of the grade, and homeworks will be 25% of the grade. Now, all of these weights have to add up to 100% to be usable weights. So we have that happening here. Then we have to know what grades that we score. So we're going to come up with some sample scores for us to be able to work with this. Let's say, for instance, you have two tests, 80% and 95%. So let's say near the beginning of a semester, you take a test and you get 80%, and maybe later you get 95%. Now, before we calculate the weight, we're going to go ahead and take the arithmetic mean of these two numbers. So we're going to add them together and divide by 2 since there are two scores. When we do that, we find that the arithmetic mean is going to be 87.5%. So the arithmetic mean is 87.5%. Now that's not the weighted average that goes into our calculation. We need to account for the weight. We said tests were 40%. So we're going to take 87.5 and we're going to multiply it by 0.40. That's the 40% weight. And when we multiply that, we find that we have 35. This is the number that's going to add in to be a part of your weighted average for the course. So I'm going to call this W sub 1 for our weight value. It's the first weight value that we've calculated. So I'm going to call this W sub 1. So what we want to have is that W sub 1 plus W sub 2 plus W sub 3 are three categories that we have weighted. We want the three weights to add together to be our final average. We'll call F for final. Now we need to calculate our other categories. So the next category we mentioned was quizzes. And to save a little time, I'm not going to give sample quiz values. We're just, whatever quizzes you have, you take the arithmetic mean of. So you're going to add them all up, divide by the number of scores that you have. For our example, let's say that we had an arithmetic mean of 78%. We're going to take the 78% and multiply it by 0.35 because our weight is 35% of our final grade. I'm going to call this our W sub 2. We have 27.3 points are going toward our final score. And then I mentioned we had a homework category. And for our homework category, again, I'm not going to give you a string of values. You can do that arithmetic mean for yourself for whatever scores you might have for your homework. I'm just going to have a value here. We'll say that you did a 95% as your arithmetic mean on your homeworks. And this was weighted at 25% of the entire grade for the semester or year, whatever you're calculating here. So we're going to take 95 and we're going to multiply it by 0.25. And that will be our W sub 3. So we're going to add this value, and this value together, and that will be the final score. So when we add these three values together, we get 86 and 5/100ths of a percent. That's going to be our final score if we use the weights of 40, 35, and 25 for our different categories. So this is the weighted average for this course. Let's look at a different scenario. Let's say that we have an entire year, and in the first quarter of the year we had a 95% average for the quarter. In the second quarter, we did 92%. We then had a midterm exam and got 77%. During the third quarter, we got 90%. During the fourth quarter, we got 98%. And then we took a final exam and it was 85%. Now, we're going to say in this scenario that this is a weighted average scenario. So the final course, the quarters are going to count as different weights than the exams. For our scenario, we're going to use 90% for our quarter weight and 10% for our exam weight. We then set up a continuous calculation here to find our final weighted average. In the first set of parentheses, we are going to add all of our quarter scores and divide by 4. Since there's 4 quarters, we're multiplying that by 0.9. I didn't add the 0 in here because it's not really necessary. In the second set of parentheses, I have that arithmetic mean for the exams. Again, when I multiply by 0.1, I'm not putting that extra 0 in there. When you see all these calculations come out, we see 91.35% is our final average. Hopefully this has helped you understand how weighted averages work and how they are going to affect your grade. Make sure that you check out your syllabus if you have one so that you know the weights that are involved in the final calculation of your grades. Hopefully this video has been helpful in helping you understand how to apply those things from your syllabus into getting your own estimate and your own understanding of where you set in a course with your grade. Cheerful calculations.